It's the year 2024. Mahindra plans on Indianizing the Wrangler by calling it the Armada, basically a five-door, do anything, go anywhere sort of a vehicle. But if you were to ask me to name that original Indian go anywhere, do anything sort of a vehicle, it has to be the Force Gurkha, which has been massively updated for 2024. There is a three-door variant, there is the five-door variant. Now in this video, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should consider this as your next SUV. I'll also list down the reasons. The first one is the driving performance, because there is a huge power jump, 140 horsepower, 320 Newton meters of torque. And also I'm going to talk about the off-road capabilities, because this thing is purpose-built. It is an off-road oriented machine. For the third reason, you'll have to stay with me a little bit longer. But before we delve into all of that, let's take a look at the glorious history that the Gurkha comes with. It was the year 1987. India's first utility vehicle was designed and developed in-house by Force Motors. This was an extremely rugged vehicle capable of negotiating the roughest of terrains. But it was not until the year 1992 that the term Gurkha was used for the very first time, still attached as a variant name to the tracks. Why the Gurkha? Because it was inspired by the legendary and fearless warrior tribe known to the world as Gurkha. After multiple recognitions, finally in the year 2005, the Gurkha was born as an independent offering. It was the best indigenous off-roader available in the country then. This terrain tamer was set to demolish mountains and swim through streams. Through the years, there have been many versions of this mountain goat, and that has led us to what we have in hand today, including a five-door version for the very first time. Driving the Gurkha is quite an experience because you're seated so high off the ground. Now this car is actually taller than the Thar, and the Thar for a lot of you is a big vehicle. Imagine the Gurkha is even bigger, it is slightly longer. It's just huge, and we are driving such a huge vehicle on these narrow streets of Goa, but it's not tiring, it's not too demanding. I can manage it just about fine. It is actually quite engaging to drive. Visibility out the windscreen is just beautiful. It's really good. Now I wanted to start talking about the driving experience because with the previous Gurkha, a lot of you have complained about the power output. With a 2.6 turbo diesel engine, it only used to put out less than 100 horsepower and roughly about 140 horses, but things have changed with this one. The same engine puts out 140 horses and 320 Newton meters of torque. That is just immense gain. How have they achieved this? Well, they've worked a lot on the engine. They've also paired it with a different gearbox, and that is why they were able to operate the power so much, because the previous gearbox was rated only up to 250 Newton meters of torque. This one can take up to 500 Newton meters. We'll talk about the gearbox in a bit. Let's talk about the engine. The same engine, the OM616, that is heavily revised to be brought up to the current emission standards. So this is obviously BS6. It is also quite refined, the way that it idles, the way that it climbs up the revs. It is actually quite a tractable motor, almost dead between 800 and 1200 RPM. But then after that, you have that immense surge of torque. And the beautiful thing is there is a snorkel that has its nozzle right up here. So if you put down the window, you can actually hear those beautiful induction noises. And if you know how to make that sound really interesting, this can actually be quite an exciting drive. It does not feel like the previous Gurkha anymore. This is a whole different animal, and really impressive how they have increased the power output. This is not an all-new gearbox. This has actually done duties with the Force Gurkha 2.2 Explore. I don't know how many of you remember that thing. This has also done duties with the Traveler T2, and it is rated for up to 500 Newton meters of torque. However, with this particular gearbox, the one that does duties with the Gurkha, they have made further changes, so the shifts are a lot more easier. I mean, they're not as precise as a Japanese gearbox, but then again, at least the clutch travel is quite short, and that makes it quite enjoyable when you're driving it. The good thing here is that because of that light clutch and because of that power gain, driving this on highways is a lot more easier. You can overtake easily. You can actually intimidate a few of the drivers on the road because obviously you have the size and now you have the power as well. The driving experience is all the more enhanced thanks to an all-new front suspension setup. It is a brand new system, double wishbone with coil springs, and it is finely tuned by Gabriel. Has been co-developed by a suspension tuning company from Germany. They wouldn't reveal the name as such. But then again, it is really very plush in here. It drives very similar to the Innova Krista. In fact, on some roads, this is actually even more comfortable than the Innova Krista, and that is saying something. If you were to ask me to pick one, the Thar or the Gurkha, from where I'm seated, it has to be this. Because this is just so characterful. And it is now so much more modern. Look around. I have a screen in front of me. I have a digital instrument cluster. I have a really powerful AC. I have two settings for the AC. I have an AC minimum and an AC maximum. I have an electronic gearbox to shift the car from 2H to 4H on the fly. Now that is again impressive because the earlier Gurkha used to get that lever. So overall, it has now gotten a lot more modern. It has these new armrests that are ratchet operated, so you can actually adjust it at the comfortable setting basis your height. But then again, this is purpose built and this is, it's desirable. I actually want to buy one. That's how much character it oozes. That's how much desirable it has become. Really nice.
Can we put the vehicle in 4L? Yeah. Oh, fine. Yes.
Cool.
Without any acceleration, you can enjoy.
Yeah. You heard the man. The rest of the thing will be done by the vehicle. So we are here at a little off-road experience center that Force has created. It's very basic given how capable the Gurkha is. But then again, I'm going to show you just how easy it is in the Gurkha. No acceleration required, just go with the flow, let the car do its thing, let the torque carry you through the course, let it tackle those gradients, those massive potholes and those dips in the ground. So the first thing that we are attacking is a steep hill with an uphill angle of 35 degrees and a downhill angle of 30 degrees, and that is going to test the approachability of the car. And it is quite steep. It does not sound a lot, but then it is quite steep. So downhill was 30 degrees, and when I put my car downhill, I'm just pointing to the ground. 30 degrees does not sound a lot, but then it is mental. Because all you can see is the ground and there's a lot of weight right behind your back that you can feel. Now to the side slope where the articulation of the suspension system will be put to test. And we are in it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That is effortless. I mean, I know that the Gurkha is capable of a lot more, but then just the ease with which it tackles these things is just immense. Now to the ramp over gradient where the ground clearance of the Gurkha will be put to test. Now this being the short wheelbase version, absolutely just demolishes that little hump on the ground. And this one here is the articulation potholes. What I'm actually waiting to see is if the suspension is squeaky or noisy, but then yeah, there's absolutely no noise of the suspension on the inside of the cabin. And all I had to do was control the speed of the vehicle. The rest of it was done by the immense amount of torque that it has on offer for the final obstacle, which is a pit that puts us to the center of the earth and straight out of it. And as I do that, I'm looking at the sky with a smile on my face, and I'm out of the first course that we had set out for the 3-door Gurkha. We solved the 3-door Gurkha with the 5-door, and the only difference here is the wheelbase. This is the brand new vehicle. This is for the very first time you're getting a 5-door variant with the Gurkha. You have a slightly more wheelbase. You also have a slightly more height addition, around 15 millimeters. Not touching the pedals at all. The car is crawling just by itself. Just when you think it's about to stall, you would be surprised. We're going downhill. I'm not going to step on the brake. Okay, so that was impressive. Everything that you're seeing on the screen right now is being done by the car itself. And that is what I wanted to show you. So this course is not at all extreme for the Gurkha, but the Gurkha can do it so effortlessly. And that is the talking point here. That is the highlight. We are now approaching a side slope with a 20-degree angle. So you'll see the suspension do its thing. And you'll see just how composed the Gurkha feels through this course. From the outside, you might think this is a tall vehicle, so the center of gravity might be all over the place. But actually, it's low down here because all the heavy bits, the engine, the drive shaft, the gearbox, everything sits low. So it's very well contained, it's very composed, and it feels quite stable behind the wheel. No matter what sort of a terrain you are tackling, be it on the road, be it you doing some extreme off-road stuff, it feels really well composed. You're approaching the ramp over gradient, and this is where I'm expecting the belly to touch, but it didn't. It did not, absolutely did not. So even with the 5-door, even with that added wheelbase, the ramp over angle is still pretty impressive. Now to the articulation holes, wherein the car will be put through really big potholes, but then the suspension is working and it's doing its thing, and it's quite composed, really quiet on the inside. The components are not squeaking at all. I'm not giving in any inputs from the pedals. I'm also not steering the car. You just have to sit here and enjoy the experience. So it is quite steady, it is quite stable, and then again comes out of the course effortlessly. Again, with a smile on my face. We've picked up a lot of dust, but then true blue SUVs are supposed to look dirty. Now, before I get to the third most important reason why you should consider the Gurkha as your next SUV, let me talk about the middle row of seat, because a lot of you are here to understand, can this be the one car in your garage? Can this be that one vehicle that caters to your family's need and your adventure needs as well? For that, I'll have to open the door, and the first thing that they're going to notice is just how high off the ground the cabin of the Gurkha is. As long as your family is fit, they are not going to worry too much about stepping on the side step, holding this grab handle and pulling themselves inside the cabin. And once you step on the inside, you notice that the creature comforts are not the best. I mean, you do have a blower with your own fan speed from the last decade. You also do have power windows, but these look like an afterthought, just like a lot of other things in the cabin. The bench itself is flat. You don't have a headrest for the middle passenger. You do have an armrest with cup holders, but then look at the positioning of this. This is so low. I can't imagine myself sitting like this for long distances. However, when you compare the practicality of the 5-door Gurkha with the 3-door Gurkha, it is just immense, because you have extra doors, you have an extra bench, and you have a lot more space for road trips, for all your adventures, for your family to actually go out. Now, it's not as comfortable as a Creta. Let's just straight get that out of the way. But then most of the Gurkha buyers are not seeking Creta levels of comfort here. They're seeking a little bit more practicality, and in terms of that, when you put things into that sort of a perspective, this is really good. What would I have liked better? Well, a little bit more space, as you can see. I am quite tightly, snugly fit here. But, I mean, as long as I'm going up a hill for that beautiful sunset view that no other car can take me to, I'm not complaining. Yes, okay, I hear you. What about the third row space? Now, this is a door that opens on the side and it does not stop in one location. So you will have to either get yourself an aftermarket stopper or have someone to hold it in position while you haul yourself inside. But the good thing here is that, you do have space for your luggage. So you can place it on one seat or you can place it between both the seats. And again, you will have to climb yourself in. But then there is a lot of space between both the seats. Close the door behind you, and I'll be honest, as long as these seats are facing in the right direction, these are actually pretty good, because there is better space than the second row, and because you're seated quite high, this actually is a much better space than this row. I mean, the only thing missing here are armrests, but that can be easily fixed by an aftermarket accessory. Also, you don't have any storage for your phone or your bottle. Actually, you do have storage for your bottle, but again, this is from the past decade. But otherwise, I'm not complaining at all. The kind of practicality that the 5-door Gurkha introduces is just unheard of, unseen of. And all of this you can access at an asking price of just about 80,000 rupees more than the 3-door Gurkha. I think if you have an option, go for the 5-door, because this is a lot better vehicle to live with, a lot easier, a lot more practical in that sense. You can carry a lot more. You can actually put in your cycle, dismantle the tires, put in your cycle, carry your off-road equipments. You can carry a lot of adventure equipment. You can carry your friends that you don't like in the rear seat. So yes, a lot better. Now coming to the third thing that I was talking about. You might think Force Motors is a small player, and the sales figures, they actually support this theory. But here's a surprising fact. A third of their revenue comes from making parts for giants like BMW and Mercedes. For decades, Force has partnered with prestigious manufacturers like Rolls-Royce and Bosch. This translates to unmatched expertise in manufacturing, which is very much evident in the Gurkha's build quality. There are cost-cutting measures, but overall, the Gurkha feels solid and built to last, perfect for the timeless design it carries. For me, the quality and finish seal the deal. Gurkha versus Thar. Well, it has to be the Gurkha all the way despite its imperfections. Good thing is now you have more doors and more seats to enjoy endless adventures and road trips wherever the compass points. Oh, what a feeling that is.